I can start with some new features that most residential mowers don't have before I even get this off the trailer. It has tie downs built right into the frame. Two on the front and two on the rear. So you can securely tie this down to a trailer if you need to transport it. Cool.
Down in the dirt. Been real bad.
In this video, I'm not going to try and sell you this mower. I'm just going to show you all the features of it so that you can decide if it is the best mower for you. I'm going to do this video a little bit differently than what I've done in the past. We're going to go around and look at every component on this mower. Ariens Corp also uses this mower frame for the Ariens ONYX, the Gravely ZTX, and the Gravely ZTXL. And I'm going to talk about the differences between the IKON, the ONYX, and the two Gravely models too in this video. That way you have a full understanding of what this mower is all about. All right, let's get started. So let me turn it around and get the camera set up and see you in a second. Come on. Did you notice when I got off the mower, I did something that you can't do with any other residential zero turn on the market? I used the lap bars to help me get off of the seat. We'll talk about how strong these new lap bars are in a little bit. So why did Ariens come out with a new IKON this year? The IKON has always been Ariens' best-selling mower for residential. They've sold thousands and thousands and thousands of them. About 3 years ago, they decided they wanted to take the IKON name and make it the best residential mower on the market. So they started from scratch on this design. They took a blank sheet of paper and asked all their engineers and all their people and a lot of their customers what they would like to see different on the machine. So they took all that information and they built a machine that has a lot of changes compared to the 2022 IKON. I'm going to go through all of those changes and why they made those changes. And I'm going to break those changes down into 3 sections. Number 1, the ergonomics, or how you interact with the machine. Number 2, the build quality, the strength, transmissions, engine, and stuff like that. And number 3, the cut quality. We'll talk about the deck and the deck controls and the lifts and all that type of stuff. So I'm going to put markers on the video so you can go back and look at these different areas if you want to watch them again. Some of you are going to ask why I got this so late in the year, but I'm going to say that it's actually a good thing. There are some YouTube reviews out there and a lot of reviews on this new machine, and in this video I can address some of the issues that some of the people are having and let you know if that's something you need to worry about with this new machine. So let's start with the ergonomics. Ariens decided to go with a fully welded solid frame on this machine. So the frame is as stiff as possible to give you your best cut, and also that it will last the longest without having any problems with it. So there's a lot fewer bolt connections on this frame than there is on your typical residential ZTR. It's going to last a long time. They not only made it stronger, but they did a much better quality of the welds. There are no spot welds on this. Everything is all arc welded. It really is a good build quality. With this design, they made the operator platform a lot bigger than what's on the Icon. And by the way, I carry my phone because it controls my camera, not because I'm watching TikTok videos. So, across here, it's 4 inches wider than it is on the Icon. So you have a lot more room for your feet. This is also angled well, and it's got a couple pads here to give you a little traction when you're mowing lawns. It has points here, traction points. So there is an optional floor mat that you can put in here, but with these traction points, with the tennis shoes that you normally use, the jogging shoes you normally use, you'll have plenty of traction so you don't slip on this if it's a little slippery. Secondly, and this is one of the biggest features that I really enjoy about this new machine, this from here to here is 4 inches taller than what was on the Icon. In addition, the seat is thicker than what was on the Icon. So in reality, that seat sits almost 5 inches taller than what it did before. There's actually one reviewer who complains that he doesn't like the height of the new seat, but for guys like me, I really like this seat. Number one, I can get on and off of the machine a lot easier. Number two, it has a lot more cushioning. And number three, I sit up straighter on it, so I'm not leaning back like if you're driving a sports car. So you can sit on this mower a lot longer without your tailbone hurting, trust me. The back of the seat is taller, so you get more comfort with it. The back of the seat is also a lot thicker. And of course it does come standard now with armrests. You don't have to buy them optional like you do on the cheaper Edge Ariens. The seat's wider. The seat's 2 inches wider. The area where the seat sets is also wider. So there's a lot more room on this machine. One thing that you may not know is Ariens could not find the seat that they wanted to put on here, so they're now making their own. These seats are made by Ariens. They're not made by an outside company. So they're all stitched. The stitches are all well made, is well put together. There's no little nicks or bunches in it. I'm really impressed with these. Every one of the seats that I've looked at so far have been pretty much perfect. The Ariens has an orange accent in it. The Gravely machines, they use the same seat, but it's got a different color accents in it. It says Gravely, of course. So the lap bars are, the best word I have for these lap bars is they're phenomenal. I have never owned a zero-turn mower that has lap bars more solid than what these are now. Big change that they had over the last year's Icon is now the safety switch is built into the lap bars. When you flip it open, your park and brake sets, so on and so forth. You don't have this lever that you have to reach down and go after. Number two, they're all solid cast, and I think it's aluminum. I don't remember for sure, but they're strong. If you notice, when I got off of the machine, I could use both of these as handles to pull myself up and get off of the seat. I've never been able to do that with any other zero turn. I'm just big enough that if I tried to do that with even most of the commercial ones, they would bend or get out of adjustment. Both of these will raise up and down 2 inches, and they will move back and forth, I think, at least 2 inches. Let me loosen this one up. Let's take a look. No, you can adjust this to anything that you want. So I'm going to run them right here in the middle for now. Sometimes overuse over the years, they're not quite exactly the same together. I always like to be able to grab a hold of the lap bars in the middle like this and scratch my nose or something like that. These, you can do it. If you get to the point where one of the transmissions is wearing a little more than the other and you have to start tracking like this, there are adjustments easily available down here for each one to change the forward and reverse track so that you can run these to get side by side together. We've got an old X mark that we can't get into adjustment anymore, and the handles are like this to be able to drive it. You won't have that issue with this machine over the years. Talk a little bit more about the ergonomics. New grips on this. This is a rubber type grip, neoprene, whatever you want to use. It does have marks in it, grooves in it, so it won't get slippery on you. And I also think it'll help your hand breathe a little bit so your palms won't get so sweaty driving this. And it not only has these grips right here where you normally hold it, it also has them out here and out here if you want to spread your arms out. What else you want to know about the lap bars? I really like these lap bars. I think they're probably the best lap bar on the market right now, particularly in the residential market. And I'll tell you what, the first thing that I did when I saw this new mower last October is I wanted to see if my cup fit in there. So this new cup holder will fit your typical Yeti 32-ounce jug. This one happens to be a Milwaukee, of course. It also, you can put your phone in it, and it's made for 2 different sizes phones. It's made for the XLs like this one. Sits nice all the way down in so it won't bounce out. And there's also another slot in here for your shorter, like your iPhone 4s and stuff like that. There is a dual USB port, so you can, if you got one of those iPhones, those old iPhones where the battery doesn't last anymore, you can hook them up and charge them while you're running the machine. One of the obvious things that I haven't mentioned yet is they put a step here on the side. This handle is strong enough that you can use this to help you get up onto the machine if you're old like me. If you just want to jump on the machine, there's also a flat step with a little sticker on here to help you get on and off. So you can jump on it from the forward, or you can use a step on the side. I haven't tried yet to see how strong the deck is. On the XD, you could stand on the deck. Yeah, this one gives a little bit, but not enough that I would be worried about it. I would use this step. I think most of you will like the styling of this mower. The frame is not straight across, it slopes up to the back. And the fenders are functional, but they don't get in your way. Thing with the ergonomics is you can sit here and you can look down easily and see what's going on here on the side of your mower. You can also look around the back. The back is tapered, so you won't hit as much stuff as you do with the old square back zero turns. I like the balance of this mower. That's something that nobody ever talks about anymore, because that was always such an issue when we first came out with zero turn mowers. Some of the manufacturers put the motor way too far back and put the seat right over the back wheels, and the mower would get really light in the front end, to the point where you couldn't hardly go over any slope at all. Over the last 25 years, everybody has kind of figured that out. So today, in this Ariens IKON in particular, your axle line is here. You sit right in front of the axle line, and the engine sits right in back of the axle line. So you get a good balance of weight transfer. You have plenty of traction on your rear wheels, but yet it's not so heavy on the front that you get a lot of bounce with it. Keeping with the ergonomics, the Ariens comes with 20-inch tires, 10 by 20-inch tires. The ONYX comes with a little bit more aggressive tread tire. The Gravely ZTX comes with those little more aggressive tires, and the ZTXL comes with a tire that has a lot more aggressive tread. If you're on normal lawns, good normal lawns, or very light, poor lawns like sandy soil, stuff like that, these treads work really well. If you have lawns that have more slope to them, or you need the traction because your conditions are really dry or really wet, those more aggressive tires do work okay. Just be aware that if you have really light sandy soil, you'll tear them up a little bit. Those tires are available as an accessory for this one, and everything that I talk about different on the Gravely models and the ONYX models, you can get as an accessory for this one and put it on here. One thing I really like about the Ariens accessories on this machine is they are inexpensive. With the exception of the bagger, everything is $75 or less to put the grab bar on, to put the little tool bag on, assist spring for the deck lift, which we'll talk about later, the floor mat, all those little things that may gravitate you toward the Gravely's, but are available for this even so. Kind of talking, still staying on the ergonomic theme and strength. I said one-piece frame, and I mean it. The channels on the side, the whole front end is all welded in, though all of the steel inside here is all welded to the frame. These risers for the transmission and the plate for the engine down there are all welded in, so it is solid. And it's a channel frame, and there's gusseting in here so that it's as strong as possible. It's not heavy steel, but it is appropriate for this residential mower. You're not ever going to have a problem with cracking on this one, in my opinion. And we're still staying with the ergonomics. Got a couple more things to talk about. Couple more things to talk about the ergonomics. Let's talk about the seat. The seat is adjustable, and there's a lever that you can use to adjust the seat now. You don't have to loosen up a knob and slide it forward and then get on it and see if that's right or not. There's notches, and there's plenty of room. There's a good 5 inches of slide one way or the other on this seat. more than what I've seen on almost anything else. There is a fuel gauge or a little indicator window on the tank. It's a larger tank than what we had before. It's 3.5 gallons. So that IKON, I could mow about 6 acres on 2.5 gallons. Or the IKON XD, the IKON XD had about a 2.5 gallon tank on it, and I could mow about 6 acres on that. This has a 3.5 gallon tank, so you'll be able to mow more before you have to put fuel in. Going back to, I'm bouncing around here a little bit. Going back to the seat, the Ariens seat has the 4 inches of cushioning. The Gravely XL has about 1.5 inch rubber isolator that goes in between this plate and the seat, so it gives you a little bit more vibration reduction. You can get those if you want to put that on here. It also raises the seat up about another inch or so. It does have good suspension back here. These springs are, well, for me, I like them. They give me a little support. Most of the other machines, those springs are not heavy enough, if they have them at all, are not heavy enough for me, and I just bottom them out. Everything is easy to access on here. The drain plug for the engine is down here, and there's a hose supplied in your manual to get the oil off of this plate, and it's just a little quick turn valve to drain your oil. Typical Kawasaki engine, very easy to work on. Oil check here, put your oil in here. Air filter has the standard Kawasaki air filter on it. Those things are getting expensive. Man, I remember used to paying $10-12 for an air filter, and these are much higher. Caterer that rents a kitchen next door to me, he's just leaving, so that's what all that noise was. Your control console is simple, nothing fancy about it. It just works. Does that come standard with an hour meter? Standard pull on and off switch for the PTO for your deck, choke, ignition, throttle. The throttle is nice and small. It doesn't have something big here that you can catch when you're getting on and off the machine and bend it. So that's all you need. It works real nice and smooth. Stays where it's supposed to be. The ignition switch, I haven't talked about the lights yet, but here we start. The ignition switch has your normal position, start, and then it has, you can move and then you can move your normal switch position to the lights, and the front lights come on. The Ariens has 500 lumen LED lights in the front, so you'll have plenty of light at night if you want to mow your lawn. The Gravely's have a brighter light. They're 800 watts. One last thing on ergonomics. I'm going to talk more about the deck lift later. But from an ergonomic standpoint, it's really easy to use. You can use your foot and the power of your leg to lift the deck up. And then all you have to do is move these pins, move this pin around to set your deck height. The Gravely XL does come with a spring-loaded assist, so it's easier to lift. You can buy that spring, and it's about $35 to install yourself on this Ariens. I don't have any problems lifting this deck up. It lifts pretty easy. But if you find that it's hard to lift, you can put that assist spring on to make it a lot easier. One other thing that the Ariens, and I think the ONYX has too, is it has a transport lock, and it's a little lever here that goes here, so that if you push this all the way forward, that latches down and that keeps the deck from dropping down, so you can get it on and off your trailer easier. That again is an accessory that you can buy to put on this machine. The brackets are here, all you have to do is bolt it on. I think that's about it. Let me stop this for a minute. Make sure I've covered all the ergonomics problems. So let's talk about the drivetrain. Let's talk about the engine first. Ariens only puts Kawasaki engines on their mowers this year. So you can get the Kohler on a few select models of the Gravely ZTX and the ZTXL, but Ariens just puts the Kawasaki on. Myself, I've grown to like the Kawasaki a lot. They're just bulletproof. I hear almost no problems with them. They'll run you, from a residential standpoint, they'll run you many years, and you'll never have any issues with them. The engine is very easy to work on. You can do your service yourself. Just pull this up, just lift here, pull this up, and you can change out the air cleaner. The oil filter is right down here, and there's plenty of room to get onto this oil filter. This frame is wider than the frame on the old IKON, so there's plenty of room to get your hand in here and change this oil filter. The drain plug still is in the same spot as it was before, but Ariens does supply you with a piece of hose that you can hook up to the drain so it drains off, so you can drain it off into a bucket over here really easy. And it's just a little simple valve to turn the oil on and off to drain it. Fill is here, and it's a screw-on type, so it stays there. It doesn't rattle around with like some of the other brands. Fill filter is real easy to get at. It's right out here in the open, so if you want to change your fill filter, you can. Very simple fuel lines, just runs from the fuel pump on the engine right down to the intake on the gas tank. No bends, it's nice and short. You won't have any problems with it. The fuel line going through the frame here, there's also grommets on here to keep this from ever wearing out and putting a hole in your fuel line. The electronics, or electrical, however you want to say it, on this machine are also very simple. Your solenoid is right out here in the open, so you can, if you ever have to replace it, it's real easy to replace. The fuse box is right here, and it's covered, so if you ever blow a fuse, you can check them easily. The battery sits down on the main part of the frame inside the gas tank where it's protected well. This is the new style battery. They're a high density, fully hermetically sealed battery. I've got one in that X mark that you see here in the shop that's going on 5 years old now, and it gives me absolutely no problems at all. I can leave it set all winter and she fires right up. These batteries are designed for vibration. They won't fall apart like your old lawn and garden battery does, every 2 years. I was actually listening to a dealer, and the dealer says, "Oh yeah, this battery is little. You can replace it with a larger interstate battery." Well, the interstate batteries are still the old conventional plate style. These batteries are much smaller because everything it's denser, and you just won't have any problems with them. I like these new batteries a lot. The fuel tank is 3.5 gallons, and there is a sight on the front of it. You can look at it from the front, see how much fuel you got in here. That's 1 gallon more than what the old gas tank was. The filler is in a good spot over here on the side, and the filler is out of the way, so you won't get any spillage like you do if you have your fuel tank up here on top. I did have one guy with a review of this machine that he broke this, and he can't figure out how he broke it. Well, If you look really close in his video, there's a huge scratch here along the side. And what he had done is he had hit a branch or something, or he was mowing too close to a bush, and he caught this and it busted. You're not going to have a problem with the gas tank as long as you have a little common sense and stay away from big, huge branches. It's hard to show you the muffler here on film, but it's a standard canister muffler, but the exhaust does point out here to the side, and there is a big, huge heat shield underneath it. So I don't think you'll ever have a problem with having this mower set on dry grass and burn the grass like some of the other engines are doing. So it's pointed out to the side, and then there's this big, huge heat shield underneath it. So you won't have any issues. While I'm back here, if you notice, it does not have a hitch. The Ariens and the Gravely's don't come with a hitch, but you can get one for it. The hitch is about $65, and it fits up in here underneath, and it's bolted in nice and solid. But to get at it, you have to remove this panel. Now, if you want me to, let me know in the comments, and I will show you a video of how to install the hitch on this. It's a hitch designed just for the IKON and the Gravely XL. You can't buy just the old plate and put it here, because this piece right here is not strong enough. It gets bolted into 3 or 4 places to make it nice and strong for you. Next, transmissions. Ariens uses 3 different transmissions on the Ariens and the Gravely brands. On the Ariens, they use the ZT 2200 transmission that has a 1-inch axle, and it pairs nicely with the larger 20-inch wheels that you find on this machine. Some of the other brands use a ZT 2100 transmission, which has a 3/4 inch axle, and that's limited to a 18-inch tire. You hear a lot of comments out on the internet about the ZT 2200 transmissions, or EZT transmissions for short. In fact, there are hundreds of thousands of these transmissions out there working every day. The only time you're going to have problems with them is, number one, if you let them get full of debris and you don't clean them off, they'll overheat. Number two, you pull heavy loads with them all the time, or they are installed on a very heavy mower. This mower weighs right around 700 pounds with the 1-inch axles and the gearing. You won't ever have any issues with them overheating because of heavy loads. If you are pulling a wagon behind it, pulling a yard cart behind it, I always recommend that you limit your loads to like 300 pounds. And then third, the only other problem that you ever really have with them is you get debris. A branch or something will come over the top of the deck, and you get lodged in the fan or the V-belt and break the fan or break the V-belt. So Ariens thought about all those issues, and they made a change to this transmission that I think is going to make them basically bulletproof. You probably won't ever need to replace one of these transmissions with the change that they made. And the change that they made is very obvious looking at the transmission. What is it? They turned them around. So instead of having all of the cooling area in back where it can collect debris, engine heat can get near it, that type of stuff, all that, the cooling area of this transmission is now up front. It's really easy to clean. When you take your leaf blower and you clean off the top of the deck, just point it back here at the transmissions on each side and you blow all your dust and debris off of it. So I'm really excited about this. I think this is one of those common sense changes that should have been done 20 years ago, but I'm sure glad that Ariens did this. Also, the controls now, the control cables and all that stuff are real easy to see. If you got one side that's getting stiff on you, you can easily look at it and see how it moves. See if there's any corrosion or if there's a stick or something stuck in it. So I really like this. I think this is a big major change that nobody else is talking about. The other two transmissions, the Gravely ZTX also uses the ZT2200, but they put a fill and a drain plug on it. So you can now change the oil after 200 hours if you want to. I think the forum guys are going to tell you that you should change the oil after the first 50 hours. Hydrogear says you only need to change the oil every 200 hours of use. The Gravely ZTXL uses the heavier duty ZT2800 transmissions. Those transmissions are not commercial, but they are stronger than the 2200s. So if you have a lot of hills and slopes and you're running a lot of rough lawn, like an old farm field, that type of stuff, the 2800s may be a good choice for you. For us homeowners with our rural lawns, our suburban lawns, stuff like that, these ZT2200s are going to last us a long, long time. I have only had a problem with one Hydrogear transmission, and it was the ZT2100 with the smaller axles, and that happened about 600 hours. As you know, I've been doing this a long time, and I pay attention to transmission problems online. The only time I ever really see problems with this transmission is if they don't keep them clean enough, they don't blow them off at least once a year, or they're in a machine that's way too heavy. In other words, these transmissions are rated for about 900 pounds max, and so that would be 700 pounds and you on the seat. Some other brands have put these transmissions in machines that weigh 1,000 pounds, so with you on the seat, they're up there around 1,200. So, but 700 pound engine and plus you on the seat, you'll never have a problem with these. Feel free to make your comments in the comment section below. I'll gladly discuss this issue with you. I'm not going to show you the linkages from the transmission up to the lap bars. You can see this one here. It's all done with rods. There's no cables or anything. That other cable down below there that you see is for the parking brake. And that's one thing I like about the Ariens. They always use mechanical parking brakes. I've got another zero-turn mower here that has an electronic system in it, and it's been a pain in my butt. Over 5 years I've had to replace that electronic brake 4 times. So 3 were under warranty. So I really like the linkages on this. Everything is nice and solid. All the bolts and moving points are really heavy. There's nothing lightweight about these handles at all. I'm really going to enjoy using this over the years. That's about it for the drivetrain. Let's finish up talking about the most important part of this mower, the deck. One thing I missed on the drivetrain, if you ever have to move this machine and there's no power, can't start the engine, there are 2 little levers behind the axle alongside the frame that you can pull to release the transmissions. Then you can push this thing around the garage if you need to. Alright, so let's talk about the deck. That mower back there, the Exmark Quest, has a commercial grade 42-inch fabricated deck underneath it. I have used that as my reference mower to compare the cut quality for anything else over the last 5 years. That deck mows better than any push mower, walk behind mower I've ever tested. That said, when I got the IKON XD, the IKON XD mowed better than that one. That said, Ariens was not satisfied with the cut on the IKON XD, so they completely redesigned this new deck. So let's go through why this new Envy deck is better. By the way, Ariens calls this an Envy deck. Gravely has an X Factor deck, and there's only one difference between the two decks, and I'll talk about that when I get to that point. Also, I'm going to show you this deck, and then I'm going to show you pictures of the Gravely deck and the differences between them. I had a chance to find a Gravely dealer that had both the X and the XL sitting around, so I was able to get some pictures. So let's start with what I think is, besides cut quality, what I think is one of the best new features on this. It's the discharge chute. The discharge chute on that old Exmark, for example, after the first 20 hours it worked great, but then after that it started to sag, and by the time I got 50 to 100 hours on that thing, it would windrow every time I had the discharge chute down. So probably for the last 4 years that mower has run with the discharge chute up all the time. Ariens built a heavier discharge chute. It's thicker material than what you normally see, and it's square and fits squarely against the deck on both sides. So being heavier and the fact that it fits squarely on the deck, this chute's not going to sag. It's just one of those simple things that makes your life so much better. The discharge chute, discharge deflector, whatever word you want to use, is angled in such a way so that it won't throw objects, but yet it gives you a nice even disbursement. You won't have any complaints about this thing the way it discharges. There is a notch cut out of the top of the deck. That notch is mainly to mount the bagger, so the bagger doesn't stick out so far. If you're running up, if you run with your discharge chute up, you may not want to do that very much, because that open area will tend to allow debris to blow up in the air more. Some of the features that I also like now on the deck that you normally don't see on this level of residential mower is the gauge wheels on the anti-scalp wheels on the outside. They're caged. In other words, there's brackets on both sides of them, and it's heavy duty steel, so they're going to be very, very hard to bend. If you're bending that, you're probably bending deck support brackets also. So that's going to last. That's going to last. Also, on this deck, it has a wear strip built on the front. This strip here will makes the deck a lot stronger. So if you do hit something, you don't bend the front of your deck up, and it also makes the deck stiffer, so you get a better cut and the deck doesn't flex. That goes all the way around the front and around the left side of the deck. Moving over to the left side of the deck, you can see the wear bar. The Gravely models also have a rubber bumper here, and you can buy that and install that yourself on this mower, and I think it's about $25 for the bumper. The bumper is nice because it keeps from this area getting scratched up if you get too close to trees or foundations. So I'm probably going to go ahead and buy one of those and put one on here, just because I do have some teenagers running this once in a while. Deck covers. The deck covers are open here on the side, so that if you get debris, dry grass and stuff up in there, just the movement of the pulleys in the deck will help blow that out. Plus, when you're cleaning, you can stick your leaf blower underneath here and it all blows out easier. The Ariens has bolt-on poly covers. The Gravely's have a metal snap-on cover. In other words, it's got snaps here. Unless you break a belt, there's no reason to take those covers off, and it's a real simple operation. Just 4 bolts to take it on and off. So 6 to 1, half a dozen the other. This deck is real easy to take off, and I'll show you over on the other side because you can't quite see it here. If you ever want to take the deck off, it's not a bad job. Come on, get my camera right. Pin here, pin back there on each side. Just 4 pins. You can lift this up here. It's stuck on there pretty good. Let me get a screwdriver. There's a rubber grommet on this to hold it in place so it doesn't rattle around on you. You can loosen up your pulley, loosen up your belt here, take your belt off. There's no extra cables or anything on the deck, so all you have to do is loosen your belt, pull those 4 pins, and you can slide the deck out if you ever need to do that. This is also nice is if you get some debris on the top and you happen to pop your belt off, you can reach in here and get your belt back on easily. That's one nice feature about this machine. Putting the deck belt on is very easy. Putting the transmission belt or changing the transmission belt is also a lot easier. And it's a lot easier because they turn those transmissions around. So you can get at everything very easily underneath. They've changed the deck lift on this now, so it's what I call a commercial style deck lift. Use your feet to push on this, and then this magnetic pin, all you have to do is pull it out and put it in a new slot. And I'm going to drop it down here so we can look at the deck a little bit easier. The Gravely's, and I think I've mentioned this already, the Gravely's have a little piece here that if you push all the way up on the foot, it'll lock the deck all the way up, called transport position. That helps if you're putting your mower on a trailer. That way the spindles don't catch on the lip of your tailgate. And then to release that latch, all you do is push on this and pull up on the latch. That is available. I think it's about $25 or so. So you can install it on this one if you want to. You don't have to buy the Gravely to get all the features of the Gravely. This one is priced to cheap enough so that you can add all those accessories and you still won't be any more expensive than the Gravely ones. The Gravely XL also has a spring assist, and it fits down in here. It helps to, if you have a hard time pushing on this, if you're a small person and you can't get your deck lifted up easy, you can install that spring, and that makes the deck a lot easier to lift. The IKON ONYX, the black one, also has this catch on it. I should also mention that you can adjust your anti-scalp wheels up or down based on how you normally cut your lawn. If you cut your lawn really high, you can drop them down. If you have the type of grass where you cut your grass really low, you can raise them up so they're not riding on the ground. Staying with the deck lift for a moment, the IKON XD used chains, a 4-point chain system to hang the deck. The new IKON uses brackets and rods instead. It's still a 4-point system. So you have 2 brackets in the back and 2 brackets up front here to keep the deck level when you're mowing. You've heard me complain about other brands that have a 3-point deck. They have 2 lift points in the back and then they just have a single one in the front. And a lot of times those decks will get wobbling up and down, side to side, and they'll give you an uneven cut if you're moving too fast. This deck won't do that for you. It's nice and solid. You don't get that jump up and down that you can with the chains using this new rod support system. The deck comes tilted at the right degree so that it cuts well. In other words, all decks, when you're mowing, the front end is just a little bit lower than the back of the deck. Usually about 1/8 of an inch. It's hardly noticeable, but this one is preset from the factory so you get that correct cut. It's also preset from the factory so it's level side to side. If you ever have a problem with your deck where it's not cutting evenly side to side, they did put in a nice feature here. All you have to do is move these back one or the other to level your deck side to side. Also, if you don't need or want that tilt, you can adjust both sides at the same time to adjust the front tilt of the deck. If you have problems with your deck side to side tilt, make for sure you check your rear tire pressure. The front tire pressure does have something to do with it. If you got a flat front tire, the deck is going to not mow evenly. If your tire pressure is off on the rears, your deck will also not mow evenly. So, one last thing before I get to the deck design. Ariens this is a fully baffled deck underneath, so you don't need anything except a plug to mulch correctly with this deck. You don't need that $100 or $150 mulch kit. The plug for this is all metal and it just bolts right in here, and it's only $65. So it's a really good deal if you want to mulch. Alright, so let's get to the best part of this mower, the deck design. I'm going to be showing you a couple pictures and diagrams that show you why this deck cuts the way it does. This deck uses 11 gauge steel plate for the housing. Underside, the deck baffles are welded in and they help strengthen this so that this 11 gauge deck is plenty strong for residential use. You'll never have any problems with bending or breaking this deck. Also, the front reinforcement around the front and the sides also help reinforce this deck so it's nice and strong. Aaron spent a lot of time in the design of this, and it shows. This deck is also deeper. It's 4.5 inches deep. That allows a lot more airflow up above the blades so that the blades can cut the grass and then circulate it out the mower deck very quickly. It makes for a smooth transition from the cut to getting it out of the deck. These deep cut decks, they have a lot more suction to them, so they tend to lift the grass up and cut it very, very evenly. I can't wait to get this one out on the lawn and actually show you how well it cuts. though our drought around here, I'm going to have a hard time finding a good lawn to show you, but that's another story. Compared to a stamped deck, fabricated decks generally give you a better cut. These deep decks like this one, the 4.5 inch deep one, gives you an even better cut because you get a good vacuum. I'll be honest with you, the stamped decks on the market right now, and I'll be specific, the Troy-Bilt Craftsman decks, they're probably still using the same stamping from the about 2007, 2010. Husqvarna, I wouldn't be surprised if they're still using the same stamping that that Craftsman developed back in the mid 2000s, 2005, 2006 time frame. John Deere has been upgrading their stamp deck, though I can't say for sure that they've actually changed the stamping. The John Deere 300 deck, the Troy-Bilt deck, all of the Craftsman decks, and the Cub Cadet stamp deck are no comparison at all to how well this one cuts. Some of the fabricated decks do cut better than the stamped ones, but I think as I put them side by side to this deck is going to outshine them a lot. Alright, so let's look at this picture. This is the underside of the Ariens and the Gravely decks. If you notice, one of the big features of these decks is the top or top in this picture, the front of the deck. Between the blade and the front piece of the deck, there's a large gap there. And the gap is behind the larger that gap is on a deck, the better it will take the grass and allow the grass to lift up, and the vacuum of the deck makes it cut the best. The Envy deck on the Ariens, the front is 90 degrees. On the Gravely, there's a 15-degree slope forward on it. In the industry, we call that a bullnose. Theoretically, that extra 15 degrees lets the grass lift up even better so that you get a more even cut. As a homeowner, I don't think you're going to see any difference between the Envy deck on the Ariens and the X Factor deck on the Gravely, but in theory that it makes sense that it does that. So I'll let you guys argue with your neighbors which deck is best. But that's the key to these decks. Deep deck, heavy gauge steel, so they don't so everything stays nice and stiff. Putting baffles in them so that as the grass is cut, it comes out of the deck very easily and quickly. And then that front gap up front that allows the grass to stand back up again, and with the vacuum of the deck, it gets stood up straighter so you get a much better cut. On your normal lawns, the ones that don't have a lot of weeds in them or a lot of plantain, you're going to see just perfect cuts with this deck. I can't wait to get this in some clover. I have some areas this year that have a lot of white clover. I'm letting the bees be happy, and I can't wait to mow that and see how well this deck cuts that, because all my other decks don't cut clover very well. So you will have problems with crabgrass or watergrass. The way those leaves are shaped, and the way they lay flat on the ground, it's really hard for a deck to suck them up and cut them evenly. But your normal lawns, your good lawns, your bluegrass, your fescues, and your southern grasses, you're going to find that this deck just does a wonderful job. All right, before we finish up, I want to talk about any issues that I've seen online. And I talked about the fuel tank. I talked about that the problem isn't the fuel tank, the problem is the operator. He got too close to a tree or bush or something like that. I talked about the seat height. Personally, I really like the new seat height. I hate the zero turns where the seat's so low. If you happen to look closely at that X mark that I showed you here a little bit, I've actually used PVC pipe to raise that seat up so I can get on and off of it. And I've done the same thing with the XD. I got 5-inch long pieces of PVC pipe underneath the seat just so I can get on and off of that machine easily. Two other things that I need to talk about that I've seen in reviews. Number one, there's a review where the owner complains that the blades are not lasting. If you look at the blade, the end of the blade is wore, and then the flail or the airfoil on the back of the blade has a notch wore into it. There's the only reason that would be happening, and he says he's only got 20 hours on the mower. The only reason that is happening is that he is mowing in dry, sandy conditions, and he's mowing too low. That's always been a problem with deck blades. If you're a commercial operator and you're running blades that are 3/8 of an inch thick, you don't see that issue too much. But if you're a residential owner and you're using these residential blades, which are about 1/4 inch thick, that can be a problem with you. So if you live in an area that's got sandburrs, you need to be mowing your lawn a lot higher and you won't have that problem. If that guy who's complaining would just take and raise his deck up a 1/2 inch, he'd have a lot less problems. If he raised his deck up and mowed an inch higher, he wouldn't have any problems. And beside that, the other problem with that operator is he bought this to use commercially. This is not a commercial mower. This is a residential mower. On your 1/2 to 3 acre residential lawn, this new IKON is going to last you 10, 15, 20 years. I doubt that you'll have any problems with this in the first 10 years of use. You're going to really, really like it. As a commercial operator, you use your machines as much in a month as what a residential person would use in 5 years. So yes, they are going to wear out faster, and you're going to complain about them. If you're running commercial, you need to be spending $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 for a machine, not what this one costs. That said, the other issue that I've read about is the deck belt breaks right away. I talked to Ariens about it, and their engineers are aware that there have been a few deck belts that have broken right away, and they have decided that the problem is the manufacturer of the deck belt, not the machine. They haven't been able to figure it down to the serial numbers on it yet, but it looks like they've got a few belts that were not cured properly, so they snap right away when you start using them. If you snap a belt right away, say in the first 5 hours of use, Lowe's or your dealer will not give you a new one. But if you go to Ariens.com, click on the support tab and find the phone number and give Ariens a call, so far they've been giving you a new belt for a replacement. And it comes pretty fast. It comes within a couple days. I've only seen a couple, 4 or 5 problems with the deck belts and reviews, so I'm not concerned that is a problem. It's just a manufacturing problem with the belt itself. So, in summary, is this the best mower for you? Well, that's up for you to decide. I'm not going to tell you to go out and buy this mower. You have to make the decision if it's right for you. The price is good, the quality is good. I'm not afraid at all of this being a new mower. This engineering that they did on this, they took their time, they went through it, they looked at all the issues that other mowers had and how to improve the old IKON XD, so that everything on this is designed so it's going to last. It's strong. The deck is built really well. The deck has superior airflow in it compared to the other residential mowers out there on the market. Uses the solid one-piece frame, so you're not going to have any stress cracks or anything like that. It has tie downs all the way around, so if you put it on your trailer, you can tie the mower down easily. You don't have to throw a strap across the middle of it and stress the frame. I like the new seat a lot. I like the new seat height a lot. It's nice to see someone getting the seat height up where it belongs on a residential mower. I'm really happy with the lap bars on this. I'm not a lap bar guy myself. I like the joysticks and the steering wheels, but these lap bars are nice and strong. I can actually use them to get on and off the mower with. They won't bend or break. I am going to add another assist bar to this. It fits up in the left front corner of the machine. You'll see it when I start mowing, to help me even more to get on and off the mower. I haven't talked a lot about the accessories. I think I'll do a separate video on the accessories. Every feature that's available on the Gravely X, the Ariens ONYX, and the Gravely XL are available as accessories that you can buy and add onto this, except the transmissions. Alright, if you like this video, please like it. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to list them down below. I do moderate the comments, so I answer most everything. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Down in the